Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Mommy, Mary whimpered, following her mother across the hot asphalt. I'm hot. I'm tired. Can we rest, please? I can't walk anymore. I want to go home. Stop begging. Jenna told her sternly, we have to buy everything, or when will we ever get to the market again? It's the beginning of the school year, and we're not ready. Just be patient. It's not much longer. I'm tired too, but I'm not complaining. You're walking light, and I'm carrying heavy bags. There's no time to rest. The bus won't wait. Can't we just sit down for a little while, please? I'm thirsty. I want ice cream. Can I avoid it and buy some for me and you? Come on, Mommy. Her daughter persuaded her. I said no. There's only a few more things left on the list. Here you go. The woman stopped, shoved a piece of paper under the girl's nose, written in a beautiful teacher's handwriting. Almost everything is already. Be patient a little. You are already 7 years old, and you complain like a little girl. You want to be the first student at school, don't you? We'll buy you a backpack. You can choose whatever you want. I don't want to go to school. Tears came to Mary's eyes. I want to go home. I'm tired. I'm hot. My legs can't walk anymore. Why are you so sad? Her mother looked back at her. Let's go and pick out some boughs. You can buy the ones you like. Look. She stopped at the counter littered with colorful boughs and rubber bands. Do you like these? Mary looked intently at the merchandise. Jenna, trying to distract her daughter, slipped her one bough or the other. Do you want white ones with beads? You'll be the prettiest girl in the class. All the boys will only look at you. Shall we? Okay, Mom, will you buy me ice cream? With hope in her voice, the girl asked. That's it. Relieved, sighed Jenna, paying the seller. Now you can have a popsicle. Yes, I'll buy you ice cream. Look where they sell it. Are you getting your daughter ready for school? The seller looked at her understandingly, hiding the money in her purse. Yes, the woman smiled. It's hot today as if it wasn't the end of August. I left all my money at the market. She shook her head. Everything is so expensive. Children are expensive. Nodded, agreeing seller. Well, Jenna turned to her daughter. Tell me, what kind of ice cream do you want? The girl rejoiced, grabbed her mother's hand, and pulled her towards the tent, which had ice cream written in large letters on the sign. Mother and daughter made their way to the ice cream maker, a young brisk girl fleeing the scorching rays of the sun under a huge umbrella. I'd like an ice cream cone in a cup. Mary was immediately amused, her fatigue lifted like a hand. Can you buy me a soda with syrup, Mom? It's all sweet, smiled her mother, handing over the money. So what? But it's delicious. The girl impatiently watched as the girl seller leisurely pulled out cups and paper wrapping. Thank you, the girl said, grabbing the ice cream and squeezed her eyes shut with pleasure, taking a bite of the cool treat. That's it, I'm exhausted. Jenna sank down heavily on the bench and, following her daughter's example, also took the ice cream. I can't believe we bought everything. It was like a mountain had fallen off my shoulders. Now we can go home. My dad is probably waiting for us. Let's get some rest. Mary said, Okay, we'll sit, but we have to catch the bus, so watch the clock. Jenna lazily looked at the people walking around the market and was glad that she had time to do everything she wanted to do. Suddenly, her gaze stopped on a gypsy woman who was looking around, saying something quickly to a beautiful girl, holding her hand, who listened, nodding her head obediently. Oh, what's she doing? Jenna said angrily, noticing that the girl had taken money out of her purse and handed it to the gypsy. She instantly hid it in the folds of her oversized skirt. Look at her. She's going to take her for a ride, and not a single policeman around. Who? Mary looked at her mother in bewilderment. Look, the girl. You nomadic tribe of gypsies. I'll show you how to lead honest people by the nose. Jenna jumped up from the bench. Mary, you stay here. Don't you dare go anywhere. Guard the shopping, you understand? I'm gonna take care of this cheater. She strode briskly toward the strange couple. Meanwhile, the girl, apparently having emptied her purse, took a gold bracelet off her wrist and was about to give it to the gypsy when an angry Jenna intercepted her hand. What are you doing, you fool? She looked at the girl reproachfully. She shook her head, as if waking up from a dream, and stared fearfully at her protector. Didn't your father and mother teach you not to trust gypsies? Why are you squandering expensive gifts? Give it back to the girl, Jenna said angrily, turning to the gypsy and grabbing her hand, which she used to snatch the bracelet. Don't touch me. Rose shrieked and wanted to hide it, but Jenna grabbed her firmly with one hand and with the other tried to snatch the jewelry from the deceiver. Tell her, tell her. Looking back at the girl, the gypsy shouted, You gave it to me for the job. I told you the truth. I didn't conceal anything. I'm a third-generation fortune teller. I know everything. I see through everyone. Yes, I gave it to you. The frightened girl mumbled, Oh, why did I give it to you? She looked at the women and at the bracelet. My father gave it to me. He will take off my head for it. Please return it. The fortune teller whimpered. You're stupid, shouted Jenna. She put noodles on your ears, and you're happy. You spent money. You probably didn't earn it yourself. Give me the bracelet, you shameless girl. The woman pushed the gypsy woman. She shook and let go of the jewelry. Take it back. Jenna handed the expensive item to the owner. And run away from here, but do not get caught in the net of these deceivers. They'll rip you off like a stick. Why do you mind your own business? A gypsy woman flew up to her, grabbed her by the hair, and started to rub her. You bastard! Jenna also grabbed her abuser's hair. Don't you dare cheat, girls. Go to work. I'll call the police. You don't think you've got any control. None of your business. The gypsy woman squealed, trying to drop the woman to the ground. Stay out of the way. Her companions jumped up and started to separate them. Rosa, Rosa, stop. Stop her. Let's get out of here. Why did you fight with her? The three of us tried to hold her down, but she lunged like a lioness, lunging at Jenna. You'll remember me. Fixing her hair and breathing heavily, the gypsy woman said, You have no conscience. Barely catching her breath, the woman replied. She wanted to fix her hair, but then she unclenched her fist and was stunned. A strand of black hair was stuck between her fingers. Damn you, damn you, damn you. Spinning her eyes frantically, the gypsy woman shouted, shook her fists above her head, and spat in Jenna's direction. Your unfortunate daughter, because of you will be. The one she loves with all her heart will die in agony. He will take the curse upon himself. Then my words will be dispelled. No one has ever humiliated Rosa like that. You'll pay for your words. You'll pay in full. You'll wash your tears away. Many times you'll remember me and regret that you messed with me. All the participants of the fight at these words froze as if struck by thunder. What are you, that you will bring trouble on yourself? Hissed at her co-workers. Let's go away. Leave her alone. The gypsies left, loudly, continuing to talk in their own language, and Jenna could not come to her senses for some time. The curse words rang in her ears. When she woke up, she shook the stranger's hair from her hand squeamishly and made her way to her daughter. Mommy, Mary asked her fearfully, "Why did you fight with your aunt?" "I wanted to punish her for cheating," tiredly answered Jenna. She took out a wet napkin and wiped her face and hands, trying to get rid of unpleasant memories. All the way Mary slept. Rose's angry face kept popping up in her sleep. The girl shuddered and woke up. "Calm down, my little one," said her mother, hugging her by the shoulders and pressing her to herself. "It's only a dream." And she herself, in anxiety, remembered an unpleasant scene at the market. The bus stopped. People reached for the exit. "Why are you both so glum?" Taking the bags, the father asked, meeting the family at the bus stop. "I'll tell you at home." Tiredly, Jenna replied, "We've had too much running, and it's stuffy on the bus. We got carsick, and the bags are heavy. But at home is good. I set the table." "Thank you. I thought I wouldn't make it." "Mom saved my aunt from a gypsy," Mary said cheerfully, jumping up and down. "Look at that." Her mother nodded at her. "How long has it been since she fell down from fatigue? And now she's as good as a cucumber. I wish I were like that." "What's this Gypsy story?" asked the father. He opened the door, letting his wife into the house. "Oh, let me at least breathe a little," Jenna begged. She sank down on the couch in the living room. "Thank God I'm home. I thought I was gonna die on the way." "Wash your hands and get to the table," the master commanded. A little refreshed after the trip, mother and daughter gladly sat down at the table. "Do you realize how insolent these gypsies are?" Jenna told me. "They took the girl's head off, ripped her off. Why should I stand aside? I rushed to her aid and fought her off. What a mother you are!" Husband grinned. "You found someone to mess with. They are in the business." "Mom is our hero," Mary said proudly. She clung to the Gypsy's hair and wouldn't let go. "Yeah, but now she's not happy she interfered." "Why is that?" "She put a curse on Mary, so." The man dismissed it. "It's all fairy tales. You're a modern woman. Do you really believe the words of some gypsy woman?" "What can words do? Think about it." "Nonsense. Spit and forget it." "Don't tell me." Jenna looked at her husband with a concentrated gaze. "What if it's true? What if it comes true?" "I'm afraid I'm for Mary. After all, she said that the daughter's fiancé will die in agony. Then the curse will be lifted." "Stop talking nonsense." Father shouted. "And you, Mary, don't listen to what your mom is saying. It's a gypsy who shouted in her heart to scare you. You're the one who deprived her of a client. So what if the groom dies?" He laughed. "We'll find her another one, won't we, daughter? What a beauty is growing up here. We'll have no shortage of suitors." "How can you say that?" Jenna was really upset. And if it's true, what if it comes true? "What have I done?" "I've had enough of you and your curses. Think less about it and you'll be fine. If you want to believe the gypsy woman's words so much, remember that thoughts are material. Put this nonsense out of your head, forget it and be done with it." Jenna did try to forget the story over time, but Mary kept thinking about the gypsy's words. "Mary, why are you sad?" My father asked. "Are you sitting at home, not going anywhere with your girlfriends? It's bored to spend all your time at school books." "I do not want," replied the girl indifferently. She after this trip, as if replaced. Mother lamented. "Has the curse already begun to work? I've brought misfortune on my daughter." "What kind of nonsense are you talking about?" Angry father. "Are you already obsessed with this story? You see curses everywhere. Now because of this to stay at home all my life. Daughter, you should at least go to the movies. Why don't we all go together?" Mother suggested it. "I can't." Mary refused. "I have a lot of homework. Go without me." What are we going to do with her?" Jenna sighed sorrowfully. She locks herself in her room and sits there like an owl, thinking and thinking, but she won't tell me what she's thinking. "Mary," she begged her, "talk to me. What's eating you?" "I'm a mother. I'll help you. I'll advise you." "I'm afraid," the girl confessed. "What are you afraid of?" "What if the Gypsy woman's curse comes true? I'll never be able to get married." "Silly girl, everything will be all right. Now I regret telling you about the curse. Don't worry about it. It's just words. Father's right, and nothing more. Look how long it's been since that day, and everything is fine in our family. Forget it. Nothing terrible will happen to you. I promise you." But the thoughts of that story never let Mary go. Only when she became an adult, she gradually calmed down. She remembered the Gypsy woman's words less and less often. Maybe it's really nothing. She calmed herself down. No, yes, I return in my thoughts to the old story. It's really time to forget. I will not torment myself and start my life with a clean slate. Time passed, and the girl finally believed that the curse did not work. "Have you changed your mind about going to medical school?" Her friends asked her at the graduation party. "No, I've wanted to be a doctor and save people for a long time. I want to go to the city. There are so many opportunities there." Isn't it a shame to throw away 6 years of your life? Saving people's lives is not an easy task. It takes a lifetime to learn. Mary was philosophizing, which made her classmates sad. "You're a fool, Mary. The best years will pass you by." "Nothing mine will not leave me." The girl smiled. "I'll make up for it." Together with her friends, she went to the city to enroll, but in the first year she failed to pass the exams. "Mom, I failed the exam." Mary cried into the telephone receiver. "It's a shame. It's just a little short. I wanted to get in so badly." Mary soothed her mother. "Maybe it's for the best. Pack up and come home. Why should you stay in the city, in rented corners? Here you'll get a job. No worries with us." Mary was ashamed to return home, but she overpowered herself. She understood her mother was right and did not linger in the city. "Well, this university." Rejoiced by the return of his daughter, said the father, "You'll work, and then maybe you won't want to go anywhere else." "Well, no," firmly answered the daughter. "I will work, and in the evenings to prepare for enrollment. I'll still get my way. You cannot talk me out of it." "Why are you stubborn?" The mother wailed. "You didn't enroll right after school. Do you think you'll get wiser in a year?" "I'll get in anyway. You'll see." The girl did not give in to persuasion, stood her ground. She spent her days in the library reading textbooks. "And why do you go to the library?" Parents asked. "You could sit at home and prepare yourself. Why are you inventing?" "I can't do it at home, but the reading room disciplines me." "You'll soon collapse from fatigue." In the evenings, Mary worked in a cafe as a waitress. If only she could go out with her friends on her day off. Her father persuaded her, but Mary refused all the tempting offers. She stubbornly prepared for admission and was not going to give up. A girl? She heard one day when she was serving tables in a cafe. "We've been waiting for the order to arrive for a long time. Could you please find out what the delay is?" Mary turned around at the voice and blushed. A handsome young man was looking at her sternly. Dark curly hair was neatly enrolled back, but a knotty strand constantly fell on his forehead, from which the young man, from time to time, threw her head back. Brown eyes with interest followed the girl. "I'll ask." Embarrassed, said Mary and hurried to the kitchen. "What's wrong with you?" The shift attendant asked cheerfully, noticing how excited the girl was. "Did you see a ghost?" "No." Barely catching her breath, she answered. There are young people waiting for the order for a long time. We'll fix that now. The waitress easily picked up the tray, and in 2 minutes, Mary could hear her laughing, flirting with the young men. She watched enviously as the girl interacted easily with the customers. Mary barely made it to the end of her shift. In every spare minute, the image of the laughing, handsome man surfaced in front of her. You can't think about him. She reprimanded herself. Preparing for admission, that's what should worry her now. But her poor heart wouldn't listen to reason. Bye. She waved to her colleagues and stepped into the darkness of the evening. Mary was in a hurry to get home. Girl. She heard a familiar voice behind her and her heart beat fast. May I meet you? Mary looked back at her, smiling broadly, looked at the young man, who for the first time in her life brought confusion to a soul that had never been touched by first love. Excuse me. On the move, she replied. I'm in a hurry. My mom doesn't want me to talk to strangers. I can't let you down. I've got a car. He grabbed her arm, stopping her. Come on. Don't be afraid of me. I don't hurt the little ones. I'm not afraid. I just really don't have time. Sit down. The stranger opened the car door in front of her. I'll take you wherever you want to go, and we'll get acquainted. Your blue eyes pierced through my heart. I can't think of anyone but you. I barely waited for your shift to end. Are you laughing? Not at all. He's suddenly serious. I've really been thinking about you since the first moment I met you. I always thought that only happened in books. You don't believe me. You don't know me at all. Maybe I'm a quarrelsome, insufferable person or an arrogant, greedy upstart. I don't know. The young man nodded in agreement. But my sixth sense tells me that fate itself has given me the gift of meeting you, which means that you can be neither arrogant nor quarrelsome. Are we going, or are you running through the dark streets alone? Still hesitating, Mary glanced at her watch. I'm late today, and my parents are probably worried. Let's go. It's faster to drive than to walk. That's great. The young man was happy. It is dangerous for a girl to walk alone in the evening streets, even if you know them from childhood. The young man drove confidently. What is your name, beautiful stranger? Without taking his eyes off the road, he asked. Mary. The girl answered, embarrassed. She still could not believe that she was riding in a car with a man, and even with the one who had occupied her thoughts all evening. And me, David. Isn't it scary coming home so late? No, I'm used to it. What, you don't have another job? My schedule suits me. I have more time to study during the day. Are you studying? No, I didn't get in. So I'm sitting at my books, so I can get in next year for sure. The young people chatted merrily. Time flew by. Well, I'm home, reported Mary. David reluctantly stopped the car. I hope I'm not crossing some hot fan if I ask permission to walk you again tomorrow. I have tomorrow off. Mary smiled. I'll get some sleep. That's wonderful. David cheered. I have the day off too. I don't want to leave you guys. Let's go to the city tomorrow, to the amusement park. Only in the evening. I'm studying at the library during the day. Okay, then I'll call you. I'll call you. Mary nodded. They exchanged phone numbers. David helped the new acquaintance out of the car and escorted him to the porch. Mary, do you want me to take a call? I accept. The girl smiled. She wanted to open the door, but suddenly David leaned over and lightly touched her lips with his lips. Mary did not recoil. She was pleased by the man's touch. I want you to think about me all night. Quietly he spoke. The girl disappeared behind the door, and David still did not leave and did not leave. He could still taste her kiss on his lips. The young man suddenly jumped up, laughed, and ran to the car. From that day on, the young people hardly ever parted. Mary? Jenna asked. Are you too serious about David? Yes, Mommy. I'm so happy. He's so good, so kind, so attentive. A courteous young man who loves you. You might even get married, but it's too early for you. And if the children come right away... Mom, we're not going to get married yet. I have to study, you know. When I graduate, then we can think about getting married. And not right away, because I have 6 years to study at university, and I'm not going to give up my plans. She didn't tell her mother that David wasn't thrilled that she wanted to go to university. Why would you want to go to university? He was puzzled. A woman has a home to run. What does it matter if you have an education or not? Is it higher or secondary? You can find a job even without education. We will raise agriculture in the village. Working hands are worth their weight in gold here, or you'll go to the city and won't want to come back. You'll forget me. You'll meet some city beauty and leave me, a provincial. Why do you say that? I love you. Don't you understand? The girl was bitter. I have dreamed since childhood to become a doctor and then go to work in a big city. We could go together. Can you imagine how great it would be? I'll definitely become a famous doctor. You'll be proud of me. Think about it. There are hundreds of people like you in the big city. Do you think you'll get a job in a good clinic? What am I going to do? You'll have to rent an apartment, and here you have your parents' house and me. We'll build our own, have kids. What else do you need in life? But there are no prospects here. The hospital is small. The medical equipment is outdated. I dream of working in a modern hospital. What's the use of studying? I was angry, David. The main thing is to be together. I think a woman should be self-sufficient. Why? It's up to the man to create a good environment for a woman. Listen, Mary, when you and I get married, and we will, as soon as you're 18, I want you to put school out of your mind. I'll provide for you. You won't need anything. A woman's main purpose is family. My darling. Mary laughed and kissed the young man. I won't be able to stay at home. I like to treat people, and no one can dissuade me from going to university, not even you. I love you, but I dream of being an independent woman and securing a good future for myself. Only then will I feel truly happy. You don't trust me. Why wouldn't I trust you? Why do you say that? I just don't want to turn into a sackcloth. Can't I fulfill my dream? What kind of a house party are you having? Such quarrels happen quite often, but the young people after a quarrel immediately made peace, and nothing could disturb their happy life. Mary's birthday was coming up. How shall we celebrate it? David asked. 18 years doesn't happen every year. Shall we go to a restaurant in town? Let's go to the countryside. Mary suggested. She had already passed her university exams and was waiting for admission. The weather's great. It's a day off. Shall we invite some friends? I don't want to go to a restaurant. You'll throw away money, but you won't have any fun. You can't step here. You can't say so. I want to go simple. All right, David agreed. Shish kebabs, so shish kebabs, the birthday girl orders music. On the weekend, they went to the riverbank. The weather was perfect, sunny, no wind, warm water beckoned to them. Lucky you, Mary. Her friends envy her. David, he can't take his eyes off you. He's such a guy. How many girls were pining for him? And he only thinks about you. It's like you meet by chance and fall in love. I thought you could only dream of such love. Why don't we go for a swim? Suddenly someone suggested it. The whole group went into the water. Guys, how about a race to the middle of the river? Suggested one of the young men. Like children. The girls laughed. What are you thinking of? Let's go to the table. The kebab is getting cold. Now, David looked back at Mary, entering the water. Let's swim in and sit down at the table. It's very hot. I don't want to leave the water. Would you like to freshen up? We'd rather look at you, answered Mary, admiring her chosen one. Mary, shouted one of the disputants. Command. 1, 2, 3. Mary commanded, and the boys swam off, parting the water with strong sweeps of their arms. Look, Mary, said her friend cheerfully. You're ahead of the pack, you handsome fellow, and the others are not lagging behind. The girl stood up for her friends, and her soul was singing. My most beloved, my most desired, my dearest. Mary, smiling, watched how stubbornly David kept the lead. The young men were already swimming back, as suddenly the head of his beloved disappeared under the water. The girl continued to smile and waited that he was about to surface from the water. Triumphant victory. But a second and another passed, and he was still gone. David! The girl cried out and ran to meet the swimmers. What are you doing, Mary? Her friends rushed after her. What happened? Help! Call an ambulance! Mary screamed, rushing to the water. David's friends, breathing heavily, were already coming out of the river. Why are you yelling? Barely catching his breath, one David asked. He had dived in, and that was it. He was nowhere to be found. Something happened. Hurry up. The guys rushed to help, dived several times before they carried the breathless body of their buddy to the shore. An ambulance was already rushing to their aid. Doctor, how is he? Mary asked, watching anxiously as the doctors tried to bring the young man back to consciousness. He had already opened his eyes, but still had difficulty understanding what had happened. It's all right, it's all right. We'll take him with us. Watch him for a couple days. He's swallowed a lot of water. Good thing we got him to shore in time. Don't worry, he'll be fine. The medics have put him on a stretcher. Mary, David said in a weak voice, helplessly, looking at her and squinting at the sun. I'm all right now. Have you frightened us? Early hot tears on the snow-white sheet that the young man was covered with, said the girl. I'm sorry. I spoiled your holiday. I'm really ashamed of myself. We wanted to amuse you a little, and it turned out to make you cry. It's nothing. The important thing is that you're alive. I should have listened to you and gone to the restaurant. Then nothing would have happened. That's strange. David's friends didn't understand. He's the best swimmer among us. What happened to him? Did he overheat in the sun? They put it down to fatigue and heat. Try not to swim in the heat. David, the attending physician, admonished him. Next time there might not be any saviors around. Take care of yourself. 2 days later, the young man was discharged from the hospital, and gradually the unpleasant incident was forgotten. Mary? One day David told the girl, the guys invited me to take part in a motorcycle race. Do you know how to ride a motorcycle? The girl was surprised. Of course, I and the guys at school, we were fond of it. Even in the city races participated. Then, however, abandoned and sold the motorcycle, the car switched to a car, and here I got the opportunity to ride, to remember how we used to race. My friend talked me into it and gave me his motorcycle. It's a sin to refuse such an offer. I wanted to feel the speed again. Is it okay that you haven't ridden a motorcycle for a long time? It's nothing. I'll ride the day before, and I'll remember. I just need to get a feel for the technique. Are you coming to watch? I'd love it if you met me at the finish line. Yeah. Mary clapped her hands together. I'd love to see you. I admit I've never been on a motorcycle, but I've dreamed of riding one. Then we'll meet on Sunday. We'll go to the country. There's a track, and then I'll take you for a spin. You'll ask me to teach you how to drive a motorcycle. The girl was looking forward to the day off. In the morning, they drove towards the place where the motocross was held. There were people standing along the track, eagerly waiting for the race to start. Mary stood at the finish line to meet David. Right after the race, she heard the start announced and, infected by the general cheering, eagerly watched for her favorite racer to show up. She watched the first riders finish the race and waited for the familiar motorcycle to appear. Oh, look! She heard it suddenly beside her. She felt the crowd stirring. Something had happened. An ambulance had gone to the highway. Mary's heart gave an anxious, twitching thump. Had someone crashed? She asked. Probably should ask the organizers. Someone has definitely crashed. The next ambulance is on its way. It's not necessarily a racing driver. Maybe someone in the audience got sick. Yeah, at the races every year someone goes off the track, just not to their death. The girl with difficulty got through the crowd to the finish line, tried to find out what happened. Racers one by one crossed the finish line. Only David was missing. Tell me, she rushed to the organizers. Were any of the riders hurt? A girl. A middle-aged man in a tracksuit tried to brush her off. We have no right to give such information. What are you, a journalist? No, I'm David's fiancé. She said the young man's last name. The man looked at her sympathetically and said, It's bad luck for your boy. He's out of the race, and he was among the leaders all the time. Where is he? What hospital did they take him to? Don't worry about it. It was just bumps and bruises. The man reassured her. But Mary, tears streaming down her cheeks, was already running to the cab rank. Doctor. She caught the head of the department in the hospital corridor. What about David? Lucky guy, the doctor said glumly. No fractures, but he'll have to stay with us. Can I see him? He was about to forbid, but looking at the girl's crying face, changed his mind. You can, but not for long. He treated bruises and wounds, injected anesthetic. Let him rest. Mary cautiously entered the room. David was lying in bandages, his face covered with abrasions and bruises. David, the girl whispered, approaching him. My darling. The boy could hardly open his eyes. Mary, have you come? I wanted to hug you at the finish line. He tried to smile. I overestimated my strength. My self-confidence failed me. I thought I would get on the bike and everything would come back to me at once, but I should have practiced. Without training, you shouldn't go to the track. I upset you again. It's okay. You'll do it next time. She ran her hand through his hair, leaned over and kissed him on the lips. Just get well soon. The doctor forbade to talk to you for a long time. Rest, and tomorrow I'll come again. Okay, I'll miss you. Me too, get well. I love you. Love you. David was discharged 2 weeks later. He immediately arranged a meeting with Mary in a cafe, and the lovers couldn't stop talking. Mary looked at him affectionately, and the young man did not let her hand out of his hands. David? The girl suggested. My parents have long wanted to meet you. Maybe on the weekend we can get together at our place? I'm going to start school soon, but while I'm free, why don't we get together? You'll be a guest. You'll get your strength back. I don't mind. David replied. That's great. I'll tell my parents to expect a guest this weekend. They received a warm welcome. Jenna put together a rich table so that the future son-in-law and the parents had no doubt that the wedding was coming. If they came to get acquainted, was satisfied with the meeting. Mom, Dad, this is my David. Mary, glowing with happiness, introduced the young man. Glad to meet you. Shaking hands, said the father. He liked the young man immediately. Now there will be someone to go to the sauna and drink beer with, because with this woman's kingdom, no pleasure from life will not get. What are you talking about, Father? Jenna looked at him reproachfully. What will David think of us? Why? Don't tell me you don't go to the sauna or drink beer. Suspiciously, he looked at the young man. Why not? David was embarrassed. In good company, I don't mind. That's what I understand, man. His father rejoiced and everyone laughed. David was embarrassed at first, but then he calmed down. Everyone talked and laughed happily, and the young man felt like a part of the family. What good parents you have, David remarked, and they love you very much. Yes, I love them very much too, and they liked you, she declared. Finally, September came, and Mary started school. The young people visited their parents less often. Mary, one day the mother called. We had a hurricane here, made a mess of things. A tree fell on the neighbor's roof, and our slate was blown away. My father can't cope alone. If you and David could come and help us. It's going to rain soon. I'm afraid it'll flood the whole attic. Mary took a leave of absence from the university and arrived at her parents' house that afternoon. David, too, put all his work aside and came to help. While the men were re-roofing the roof, the women were busy in the kitchen, heating the stove. The men were talking about something. Watch out! Suddenly they heard their father shouting. The women heard a sheet of iron hit the roof, followed by a thud. Something sprinkled and rang. You punishment. Mother, Mary, hurry. David fell from the roof. Mary jumped out first. David was sitting on the ground, pale, frightened, and gently supporting his arm. David, what's wrong? The girl rushed to him. My arm. Writhing in pain, the young man said, It seems to be broken. Why didn't you? The boy's father. Jenna wailed. He came to help and almost got killed. What a disaster. You should have hired some outside men. You gotta pay men. Justified the father, looking at David confused. And the job was easy. Who knew that it would end like this? I haven't had much luck lately. David lamented, getting into the ambulance that Mary had called. She'd come with him. I accidentally stumbled and fell. I don't know what's wrong. But I do. Mary thought to herself, but she didn't say anything to the young man. Your fiancé will have to stay here tonight. Why? David tried to object. Just put a plaster cast on him and he's fine. Maybe you have a concussion. I don't like the way you look. The doctor said. It's worth a follow-up. Mary went home alone. How embarrassing in front of the boy. Shaking her head, her mother said as the family gathered around the table. Good thing he only broke his arm. Lucky, you might say. Is it a joke to fall from such a height? Oh, my father didn't save the boy. What if he'd been killed? What's it got to do with me? I've been on the roof too, and it's okay. It's just a matter of fate. Mary? Asked Jenna, the daughter, when they were alone. Why are you so thoughtful? It's all right. It's not a hard fracture. It'll heal, and she won't remember. Things happen in life. If you knew where you'd fall, you'd have made a bed. Mother? Mary looked at her mother anxiously. I think it's the Gypsy's curse that's beginning to take effect. Are you out of your mind? It's been years. I don't believe it. It can't be. So what if I fell down? Who knows? It's the third time he's fallen over recently. And Mary told her mother about how the young man almost drowned and then almost crashed his motorcycle. Oh boy! Jenna exclaimed. I'd forgotten about the curse. I thought it hadn't come true, but there it was. What should I do, Mom? The girl asked in despair. What to do is to find a Gypsy and ask her to remove the curse. And where to look for her? I don't remember her at all. Only her name, Rosa. I think we should go to Lisa. They say she can lift even the strongest curse. Mary didn't sleep much that night. She was afraid for David, but she didn't know what to expect from Lisa. Come in, beautiful. Don't be shy. Lisa smiled in a friendly manner and pointed to the chair opposite her. What was it? What will be? What will soothe my heart? I'll tell you everything. What has happened to such a young girl? I see the sadness in your eyes. Tell me what's on your mind. Just tell me what's on your mind. Otherwise, I can't help you. Can you lift the curse? I asked Mary, quiet. Lisa shouted at her. Don't talk loudly. Tell me what the curse is. And Mary told the story in detail. Her name was Rose. The girl finished her story. I don't remember her much. I was little. Oh, my golden girl? The gypsy woman shook her head sadly. I will try, of course, to help you, but the problem is that the curse is directed not at you, beautiful girl, but at the man who will love you. You got a fiancé, you love him. I have a fiancé, that's why I'm here. He's been having one misfortune after another lately. So far, it's been limited to various injuries, but I'm afraid it'll end in tragedy someday. I'll never forgive myself if he dies. Help me. Tell me what to do. I'll pay anything. I'll pay any money. Just save me. Get rid of the curse. My diamond. Lisa shook her head. Sometimes money is powerless. Give me your hand. Beautiful, I can tell your fate by your hand. Lisa took Mary's hand, looked at the lines on it for a long time, then whispered something to herself. Then she lit a candle, took a small bundle of some herb from the shelf, set it on fire, and with the smoke began to fumigate the girl. She walked around her and said something. Mary was frightened, trembling with excitement, the smell of smoke, and a headache. At last Lisa fell on a chair, put her hands on the table, dropped her head on them and lay like that. The girl was afraid to move. I'm sorry, my good girl. At last the gypsy woman spoke, raising her head. I couldn't remove the spoil. Your Rosette is a real witch. I'm weak against her. The woman confessed. What can I do? Mary said in despair. Tears came to her eyes. There are two ways out. Answered the gypsy woman. Either you'll spend the rest of your life with your husband, if you marry for love, or look for someone who will take away the curse. As soon as you choose him, you will get sick, wither, and it won't take long to get that. The gypsy woman pointed to the sky. Only you must love him, and he must love you truly. You can deceive yourself and people. Pretend that you love him, but you can't deceive the gypsy plot. It will still catch up with you. What's that? Mary's mouth is dry. I have to sacrifice the person I love. Otherwise, you won't get rid of the curse. The gypsy woman said firmly. I would rather not marry at all than sacrifice my beloved. She jumped up from her chair and ran out into the street. Mary? Her mother met her in the yard. What did Lisa say? Your face is gone. Mommy. The girl threw herself on her chest and sobbed. I'll have to suffer alone all my life. Lisa couldn't do anything to make me happy. The man I love must die for me. I can't let that happen. It's better to be alone than to pay such a sacrifice, and to marry someone I don't love. I don't agree either. To live with someone you don't love is nothing but misery. Daughter, Jenna was ready to burst into tears herself. Let's go home. Why are we standing in the street? We're bothering the neighbors. Tell me, what did she tell you? That's what she said. Mary was sobbing. The man I love with all my heart must die in agony. Only then the curse will lose its power, said Rosa, the real witch. What do we do now? Me, I'll chase David away. Let him go. Let him forget me. Let him live. How can you drive him away? He loves you madly. He'll never say no. I must make him leave my life forever. What a misfortune. My mother shook her hands. I wanted to help a man, but what misfortune did I bring on my own daughter? So don't believe in conspiracies. Should David tell her everything? No. The girl answered firmly. Then he will stay for sure. I must talk to him in such a way that he would leave and never even think of coming back to me. Mary stayed up half the night, crying, trying to find a way out of the situation. Realizing that she could not do otherwise, David must leave. She came to meet him from the hospital with a heavy heart. Mary! He welcomed her, opened his arms, and pressed her against him. I missed you so much. More than anything, I want to get in my car and drive away. I want to kiss you. He looked at her affectionately. David. The girl pulled away from him and tried to keep her voice cold. We need to talk. What's wrong, my love? He still continued to smile. You know that I can disperse any clouds gathered over your head with my bare hands. I'll tear them all apart for you. Let's go home. My parents aren't here yet, so we can talk about it. Good. I'm so happy to see you. He tried to kiss her, but Mary recoiled. Her heart was bleeding, but she knew she couldn't do otherwise. At home, she invited him to sit at the table and took a seat across from him. You and I must part. Mary said firmly. What do you mean? Break up? The smile slipped from his face. Are you out of your mind? We were getting married? I realize that my decision is unexpected for you, but I've thought it over. I have to get an education, and you will interfere with me. You're the one who said you're against me studying and then becoming a doctor. I'm not ready to sacrifice my ambitions. Mary, my dear Mary, David's talking to me like a little girl. I don't mind if you study, as long as that's the reason for the breakup. I don't want to lose you. I'll do whatever you want. And I won't interfere with your studies. But you shouldn't make such big decisions alone. We're adults. Let's talk about this together. You don't understand. Mary gripped the fingers of her hands tightly. We can't be together. I have a goal, and I'm going to it. You're an obstacle. I don't want to be distracted by anything else but my studies. We have different outlooks on life. I need another man who understands me and supports me in everything. Let's not torture each other. Let's part as friends. Every word was difficult for her. Tears were ready to spill out of her eyes, but she held on. Mary, the young man spoke quietly. What friends? We love each other. I see that you love me. I could not be mistaken. Why ruin everything? I don't understand. I don't have to explain anything to you. Coldly, the girl replied, Please go away and forget me. Find yourself another bride and be happy with her. But I don't want another. I can be happy only with you. Is there any other reason why you're driving me away? Frankly, I'm not convinced by your arguments. Study in peace if you want to. I'm not going to stop you. Why break up the relationship? What's gotten into you while I've been in the hospital? I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay with you. Go away. Coldly, Mary said and stood up. You are no longer welcome here. Forget about me forever. Okay. David stood up. If that's what you ask, I'll leave. I really hope you'll come to your senses and come back to me. Don't hope I won't come back. Mary, you're making a very big mistake. The girl was silent. She was afraid to raise her eyes to him. She knew that he would read in them very different words from those she had spoken aloud. The young man stood looking at her intently. Then he quickly gathered himself, got into his car, and drove away. Sobbing, Mary ran into the room, fell on the bed. Mary, her mother and father returned just after David had left. My poor little girl, Worried about her, cried Jenna. She stroked Mary's head, as in childhood, soothing, pitying. What agony you are taking! Cry? Cry, sweetheart. It'll be easier. Mommy, replied the girl, breaking away from the pillow and sitting down next to her mother. It will never be easier for me now. My heart breaks to pieces when I think about David. I don't know how I'm going to live without him. I want to die. What are you? What are you, sweetheart? Don't even think such thoughts. It's nothing. God willing, everything will pass. Everything will be over. The agony will be gone. The woman embraced her daughter, pressed her against herself, trying to share her pain. He'll hate me now. Well, let him, I don't care anymore. You'll meet another good man. Jenna was as comforting as she could be. A woman can't be alone. Well, you won't have a passionate love, so how many families live like that? Mary sat on the bed, staring thoughtlessly into the void. Her hands were resting on her lap. She didn't know how she would learn to live without David. Time heals. Mary knew that for sure. She went away to study with her friends in the dormitory. Lectures, seminars, library classes took up all her free time, but sometimes David came to her in her dreams and looked at her reproachfully. The girl woke up in tears, but did not give in to a moment of weakness, persistently devoted all her time to her studies. Mary more than once called out to her roommates. Shall we go to the club? Let's dance, relax. There are so many boys hanging out there. We'll get to know each other, have fun. How long can you sit your books? I don't go to clubs and I'm not going to meet anyone. Refused the girl and defiantly opened some textbook or notebook, using them as a shield from the annoying attention of neighbors. I don't understand. One of her friends was puzzled. How can you spend all your time with textbooks? Life is passing you by. Really, Mary? Another one echoed her. At our age, only to go out. But tell me, don't you want to meet some guy? Yes, she's afraid of them. The girls laughed. I'm not frightened, just my studies are in the first place. Calmly answered the girl, and she remembered how recently a classmate caught up with her after class. Mary, smiling, the guy suggested, let's go to the movies. Sorry, I have a library in the evening. Screw the library, don't you have any other interests? I like it. Without stopping, the girl replied. Don't try. She heard the voice of another classmate. She's a bit of a prude. Maybe you're already married. So tell us, we'll understand. Or maybe you're sick. The guys laughed. None of your business. She snapped at them. Stay away from me. She's so formidable. Hey, hussy, you're really sick. Such beauty is wasted. Mary did not care about all these attacks. She was not going to open her soul to anyone and explain the reason for her closeness. A year of study flew by. The girl passed the last exam and decided to run into a cafe near the university. They sold delicious pastries. She made an order and sat down at the table. Can I keep you company? She suddenly heard and raised her head. A young man stopped next to her. His smiling blue eyes struck Mary so much that, without saying a word, she nodded her head, giving permission. I'm going. I see a pretty girl is bored. My name is Jordan. What's yours? Mary, but I'm not bored. A little tired after the exam. So you're a medical student? Yes, but I'm a long way from being a doctor. I've only finished one course. They talked for a while, then the girl stood up. Excuse me, I have to go. Wait, how come? Jordan was confused. Can I walk you out? I live nearby, in the dormitory. So what? I'll still enjoy walking with such a beautiful girl. Mary blushed. She liked this guy. She didn't expect to meet such a charming man, and she didn't want to part with him either. "Aren't you going to work?" "I have my own small firm, so I can afford to be late from lunch. No one will scold me." He smiled broadly, and Mary smiled. The next day, Jordan was waiting for her outside the dormitory with flowers. "I bought tickets for us," joyfully informed the young man. "I haven't been to the movie theater for a long time." "Thank you for getting me out of the house, or else I'm completely memorized." Gratefully, Mary smiled at him. When the light went out in the hall, Jordan boldly took Mary's hand. She did not resist. She was pleased with the touch of a young man. After the session, they walked back to the dormitory. "Did you like the movie?" Jordan asked. "Yes, very much. Thanks again for a wonderful evening, Mary," Jordan said, looking into her eyes as he drove away. "I'm so happy that fate brought us together. I've only known you for a day, but it feels like I've known you forever. That's never happened to me before. I'm so sorry to part with you. I'm ready to spend the whole night under the windows of your room, just to know that you are near. I'm glad to meet you too," the girl confessed. "The girls and I are moving into an apartment tomorrow. It's the beginning of vacation, and we're staying to work. So you and I will still be able to see each other." Jordan was happy, and the young people swirled in the whirlpool of their feelings. They met almost every day. The relationship grew so fast that Jordan one day suggested, "Mary, why should you spend money on an apartment? Why don't you move in with me?" "I'm not comfortable." The girl was embarrassed. "We don't know each other very well. I want you around me 24 hours a day. Every time I say goodbye to you, I feel like we'll never see each other again. I want to wake up and fall asleep next to you. I'm sure that's what you want too. I think we should take our time." "Why wait? I love you and I'll never hurt you if you're afraid of that. Sometimes all it takes is one look to find your soulmate. Why wait years when it's so clear between us?" So Mary moved into his apartment, and they were really happy. Mary was studying. She had only a little time left to get her diploma. From time to time, she went home to see her parents. One day Jordan, as always, met his beloved at the train station. He got out of the car to meet her. "Darling, I have a surprise for you," he mysteriously informed her, kissing her on the cheek. "I love surprises," Mary replied. The young man pampered her, gave her jewelry, bought tickets to concerts of favorite artists, to the theater. The two of them could go for a weekend in the country to relax in nature. "Then let's hurry home. Tell me, what's the surprise? Please don't keep me waiting." Getting into the car, the girl persuaded him all the way home. "No way," answered Jordan. "I want to torture you a little." "Oh, you do?" Mary was jokingly angry. "So you like to torture me? You said you loved it." The young man stopped the car, turned to her, and looking straight into her eyes, said seriously, "I love you very much, but I still won't reveal the secret until later." Mary swung her fist at him. Laughing, exchanging jokes, they hurried home. "Close your eyes," Jordan asked as they entered the apartment. Mary obeyed, the smile never leaving her face as Jordan led her into the living room. "Now open them." "Jordan," the girl gasped, barely opening her eyes. "How wonderful." "What's the occasion? Did I miss something while I was visiting my parents? I couldn't have forgotten some important date, could I?" The table was set in the middle of the room, candles burning, flowers in vases everywhere. Jordan looked at her with a serious expression. "Mary, you and I have known each other for a number of years. I confess that I fell in love with you from the first moment I saw you in the cafe. I didn't dare to ask you to become my wife for a long time. I was afraid that you would refuse." He took a beautiful velvet box from the table, opened it, got down on one knee in front of the girl, but today I dared to ask, "Will you marry me?" Mary put the ring on her finger, took the head of her beloved in her hands, looked with tenderness into his blue eyes, and answered firmly, "Yes, I will be your wife." The young man stood up, embraced her, kissed her. God, I could not even dream that such a girl would give me her consent. They sat down at the table, raised glasses of champagne, congratulated each other. "Just do not persuade me to give up my studies and devote myself to housework." Mary wagged her finger at me. I had no such thoughts. I know what it means to do what I love. I think we'll get married after we get our diploma. Would that be okay? Thank you for understanding me. The girl smiled at him. It's very important for me to finish my studies. I have to match you. She laughed. It is unlikely that you will be interested with the wife of an understudy. I love you all kinds. Jordan said quietly, "Only if you were always with me." After the wedding, we will go on a trip. Where would you like to go? I don't know. With you, I could go to Antarctica to the penguins. We still have time to decide. You're my fiancé now. That's all I can think of. The happy celebration was just over a year away. Their little family lived a cloudless happiness. Every spare moment they tried to spend with each other. "You've spoiled me completely." Mary jokingly criticized him when Jordan sat next to her in the evenings, took her in his arms like a little girl, wrapped her in a blanket and cradled her, enjoying the closeness. "I want to feel you all the time, to hold you, to kiss you. Who knows how we will live on?" He was thinking. "And children will appear, there and in general time to be like this, one-on-one will not be." At such moments, the girl leaned her head on the young man's shoulder and liked to listen to the beating of his heart. It seemed that nothing could overshadow their happiness. "Yes, my love." Mary answered the phone, but instead of Jordan's voice, she heard a complete stranger's. "Mary, we called you because your number is the last on the list of numbers of the man we found unconscious in the street." "What?" The girl felt a chilling fear creep into her heart. "Where is he? What's wrong with him?" "He was found on the street by passers-by. He's in our hospital now. We need to confirm his identity." Mary dropped everything and went to the hospital. Barely waited to see the attending physician. They wouldn't let her into Jordan's room, only let her look through the glass. "Is this someone you know?" "Yes, he's not just an acquaintance, he's my fiancé. Can I stay with him?" "Wait for the attending physician. He'll explain everything." "Doctor, what's wrong? Why won't they let me see him?" The girl looked at the man in alarm. "He's still unconscious. There are no external injuries. We've examined him thoroughly." "Go home. When he comes to, we'll let you know." "No, I'll stay here and wait for him." "Is he going to be all right?" "Tell me, why did he lose consciousness?" "We don't know the cause yet, but we'll find out. We'll do an examination, then we can talk about the cause of the fainting." Jordan regained consciousness in the evening. Mary came right away. "How you frightened me." The girl cautiously entered the room and sat down beside her beloved, looking anxiously at his face. There was not a speck of blood on it. Blue eyes faded. "What did the doctor say?" "Nothing concrete yet. They ask a lot of questions." "Jordan's been sluggish. You must have overworked yourself, so your body malfunctioned. You'll be as good as new again." She ran her hand through his hair, down his cheek, took his hand. Her fingers were cold. "I guess I've run away." Suddenly Jordan said, "What are you talking about?" "There are good doctors here. They will definitely put you on your feet, establish the cause of fainting, and prescribe treatment. I'll come to see you every day. You just don't get discouraged. I know you men." She smiled approvingly. "She panics." On the third day, Mary got a call from the doctor asking her to come in. "Mary," he began. The girl suddenly realized that something irreparable was about to happen. "I have bad news. Jordan has brain cancer, terminal stage." She cried out, put her hand over her mouth. "I'm sorry about your fiancé, but there's nothing we can do for him." "I don't believe it." In despair, breaking her hands, said the girl, "You've made a mistake. Double-check the tests again. He was perfectly healthy. He never complained about anything. He's so young, it's a mistake, a mistake. He didn't complain. He didn't have to be healthy. This type of cancer is very insidious. A person may feel a slight indisposition and write it off as fatigue, a cold, but in the meantime the disease develops. Do you remember if he ever complained about anything in passing? Sometimes he'd say," Mary was thinking, "that he had a headache. A month ago he complained that he couldn't see very well, as if his eyes were foggy, and I began to notice that he was bumping into furniture, doors, as if he was out of coordination." That's right. A person doesn't pay attention to such little things, and meanwhile the cancer is already gnawing at him. It's very aggressive. Is there nothing that can be done? Alas, the doctor waved his hands. It's too late. At this stage, all our efforts are for naught. Even abroad, no one will take him on. The tumor is not operable, and chemo is already useless, only to torment the patient. We'll support him, of course, but only to relieve the pain. Mary hesitated and then said with difficulty, "How long does he have left?" "Not long, I'm afraid. 3 months, 4 at the most." "I'm so sorry. Does Jordan know he's ill?" "Yes, we had to tell him. He needs to know what he's going through. Stay strong. Your support is very important to him right now." Mary walked out of the office exhausted, clamped her hands over her mouth, pressed herself against the cold concrete wall, and sobbed deeply. "No, this can't be true," she thought. "I don't want to lose him. How will I live without him? How will I look into his eyes? What will I say?" But she realized that she could not leave him at such a difficult moment, alone with the disease. With difficulty the girl pulled herself together and went to Jordan, hiding her tearful eyes. "Do you already know?" The reddened eyes and the mournful smile did not escape his inquisitive gaze. "I'm sorry I won't be able to carry you in my arms into our home, but I'm happy to have been by your side these past few years. I don't have much left in this world, but even at the last minute, I will remember every day I spent with you." "What are you saying?" whispered Mary, tears preventing her from looking at him. "We'll get through this. You can't leave me. It's not fair. Unfortunately, nothing depends on us anymore. Soon I won't even be able to talk to you, and then I won't be able to feel anymore. I'll be there for you. I'll take a sabbatical and take care of you." "Thank you," Jordan said quietly. "I'm tired." He closed his eyes. Mary took his hand and pressed it to her lips. His once strong hand lay limply in hers. The girl had almost lived in the hospital, going to the apartment just to wash and pay the bills. She did not believe that all this was happening in Java, refused to accept the fact that Jordan had less and less strength every day. He was falling into oblivion more and more often. At such moments, Mary was overcome with despair. She cried silently, her heart racing. "Mary!" Suddenly she heard the quiet voice of her beloved. "Don't cry, please. It hurts me unbearably to see you like this. Forgive me." Wiping her tears, the girl whispered. Her lips trembled. She could not cope with the hopelessness that had seized her. "I won't cry anymore." She even tried to smile. "You know, I'm glad I was able to be happy, even if only for a short time. I'm grateful you're here with me now, not leaving me for dead. How could I? Because I love you. And I love you. I'm not afraid to die. I'm even looking forward to death. It will free me from pain. And you must live. Try to be happy. From up there in the sky, I'll watch over you and enjoy your happiness. I can't do it without you. Mary took his hands. They were icy. She pressed against them, trying to warm them. Hot tears flowed down her cheeks. Why should I live when you won't be there? Don't cry, my darling. We will all go away sometime. It's only a matter of time. We'll surely meet you later, up there in heaven. I'd love to see what you'll be like in your old age. He smiled. For 1 minute there were cheerful sparkles in his eyes, as before. Then Jordan's face was distorted with a grimace of pain. You go on tired. I want to be alone. He closed his eyes. Mary carefully got up, stood gazing into the pale native face, on which the disease had imprinted the imprint of hopelessness, and left. In the morning she awoke to a sharp phone call, grabbed the receiver, her heart clenched. Mary, I'm sorry for your loss. Jordan is gone. The girl buried herself in her pillow and screamed and cried. How could I not feel that he was saying goodbye to me? She scolded herself at the top of her voice. Left alone, didn't even say sorry, didn't even kiss him goodbye. Why? Why had it happened to him? Oh my God! I'll never see his smile again, never be able to talk to him again. How could I do that? Why? Finally the sobs subsided. Mary cried silently, and in her head she heard Jordan's voice and his last words. His smiling face stood before her as if alive. When she had cried all her tears, she fell into a heavy sleep. She vaguely remembered the day of the funeral, the people who had helped her. It seemed that together with Jordan, the life had gone out of her forever. She shriveled up, blackened with grief, did not react to the words of her friends and parents. She closed herself in her apartment and gave herself to grief alone. My daughter, her mother pleaded with her. Come home, how are you alone? No, Mom, Mary answered firmly. I have to finish my studies. I want to save people. I want to save people like Jordan. Recognize this terrible disease early so people don't die. I have to do this for his memory. He wanted me to graduate so badly, and I'll do it, no matter what it takes. But you're all alone out there, cried the mother, pitying her daughter. You'll come to your senses at home, and then you can go back to school. Listen to me. Your father and I are heartbroken for you. No, I don't want you to coddle me, pity me. I'm among my friends here. I'll go back to the dormitory. I've got 6 months left. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. I'm strong. If I didn't die at once with Jordan, I'll definitely survive now. Mary returned to the dormitory and plunged into her studies. After passing her final exams with flying colors, she asked to be sent home to work at the local hospital. Mary, her classmates called her. Shall we go to a restaurant? It's a big occasion, graduation. We'll all sit together. When else can we get together as a class? No, girls. Thanks for the invitation. I'm going home. Tickets are in my pocket. I can't stay here any longer. So many memories. Every street, every cafe, everything reminds me of Jordan. I want to forget everything and start living again. Home and walls help. The girl said goodbye to her friends and, having packed her suitcase, went to the bus station. She got off the bus at her station, breathed in the air familiar from her childhood. She smiled and walked towards home. When she got out on the station square, she looked around in search of acquaintances, but saw no one. Suddenly her gaze lingered on an old Gypsy woman. Her face seemed vaguely familiar to Mary. The girl stopped, looking at the woman stealthily, trying to figure out how she knew her. The Gypsy woman was staring at her too, as if waiting for the girl to finally recognize her and approach. As if hypnotized, Mary walked towards the gypsy woman to meet her. The closer she came, the more she was tormented by the thought that she knew her. Suddenly, the girl cried out as if struck by thunder. "You! Did you recognize her?" The older woman grinned crookedly, revealing dark, sparse teeth. "Yes, it's hard to recognize me now, and I've only just turned 50. She laughed hoarsely, then coughed hoarsely. "It's really hard to recognize you. But I was young, I didn't really remember you. It's been so many years you've changed," the girl whispered. She could not believe her eyes. From a beautiful, lively, insolent gypsy, Rosa turned into a decrepit old woman with gray, dull hair, curled fingers, once soft, lustrous, tenacious hands, incessantly rubbed a bright, multicolored shawl, carelessly thrown over her shoulders. His face, mottled with wrinkles, had shriveled, and only his eyes, black and radiant, remained alive. And it was this incongruity of eyes and appearance that struck Mary most of all. "Don't try to console me. I know all about me, and I know about you that I came home because I buried my fiancé. He burned to death in 4 months. Where are you from?" The girl was amazed. "I know." Rosa coughed again, covering her mouth with the end of the shawl. "He took away my curse and freed you with pain and agony. You'll meet your destiny soon and you'll be happy. What happened to you? 50 years old is not an age. I brought the disease on myself. I cursed you. I committed a great sin, so God punished me. I ruined my health. Never, you hear, never wish harm to anyone. It will come back to you 100-fold. Not all at once, but gradually. I wanted to punish your mother, but I punished myself. God sees everything who hurts whom. Do you need any help? You're kind." A tear rolled down the wrinkled cheek of the gypsy woman. "But I don't need your help. Go, your parents are waiting for you. Hurry to meet your destiny." Mary wandered home, walked a respectful distance away, looked back. The gypsy woman was still standing in the same place, looking after her with her hand, covering her eyes from the sun like a visor. Her hunched figure evoked nothing but pity in Mary's soul, not even anger toward her. "Mary!" Her mother ran out of the house to meet her, embraced her, cried, "Poor you, my poor sufferer, when will all the misfortunes end?" "They're over, Mom." Hugging her in return, said the girl, "I met a gypsy woman at the station. The same one, remember Rosa? How could you recognize her? It's been so many years. You were just a little girl. Has she changed? Maybe I wouldn't have recognized her. She beckoned me to her, like she was hypnotic. She said Jordan had lifted the curse from me. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I can't believe it. Oh, why am I keeping you out of the house? Come on, let's go. My father is worried sick about you. Listen, Father, what's your daughter saying?" Jenna didn't know how to express her joy. "All our troubles are over. The gypsy told her so. Is that old witch still alive? If I'd known what she looked like, I'd have shaken her out of my soul and gotten her to lift the curse from you sooner. Will you show her to me later, my daughter? I'll deal with her. I'll get even for every tear you shed. Daddy, I won't need your help. She's punished herself. She's so sick. What's the matter with her soul? I feel sorry for her. I wouldn't want to be in her shoes. That's what she should do." Father said in his heart, "How can the earth still carry her?" The girl, as the dearest guest, was seated at the table. Behind the conversations, oohs, sighs, the time passed unnoticed. "What will you do next?" "Ask my father. I'm going to get a job. They're waiting for me at the hospital." "Of course they are." Mother snorted. They're always short of people there, and here the whole doctor has arrived. I'm not quite a doctor yet. I have to practice first, but I'm looking forward to going to work. You should at least get some rest. You're all skin and bones. You're not taking care of yourself. I don't want to stay at home. At least I'll forget about work a little, and there and meet a good man. My mother picked up on it. We're not old now. It's time to nurse grandchildren. Mom, I don't want to think about anyone right now. Men have no place in my life, at least not yet. That's not right. Father remarked. A young woman should be thinking about men. No, I've had enough of men. The one I would like to be with is probably married long ago, and I don't need others. I'm fine on my own. Didn't you just say that about David? Asked the mother, looking intently at her daughter. It doesn't matter. Mary was embarrassed. Forget it. I don't want to talk about David or anyone else. I came here to work, not to have affairs. He never married. He became a big man, a farmer. He's such a nice man, the girls are all over him, but he won't let them. That's right. The other day he brought a new tractor. My father told my mother. He's made a good fortune. But he hasn't brought a woman into the house, so he lives alone. Good luck to him, said Mary, and her heart gave a happy twinge. Enough about him. Let's change the subject. And anyway, I'm tired. I want to rest from the road. Tomorrow I'm going to apply for a job. The next morning, Mary went to the local hospital. They welcomed her cordially, told her everything, showed her everything, drew up the documents. Encouraged, the girl returned home. She walked and remembered how she and David had walked along the streets of their village. Mary was thinking so much that she did not notice that a car stopped next to her. A young man jumped out and blocked the road. Mary, hello. She heard the girl. She looked up and shuddered. David was standing in front of her. Yes, her David, the one she loved madly, the one she had driven away, afraid of the curse, the one she had never forgotten, hello, answered a dumbfounded Mary. She was confused, unprepared to meet him like this. He hadn't changed a bit in the years they hadn't seen each other, but he had grown older, and there was a deep wrinkle between his eyebrows. I'm so glad to see you. The man looked at her tenderly. How are you, Mary? Married? I was. A shadow came over the girl's face. No luck with your husband. He died. She answered briefly. I'm sorry. I didn't know. David was embarrassed. Look, he suggested suddenly. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Let's go to a cafe, sit down, talk. I'm sorry. I don't want to be out in public. I'm not in the mood. Then let's go to the river. Remember where we used to vacation? Okay. Unexpectedly, the girl agreed. David helped her into the car. All the way they were silent, each thinking about his own. David stopped. They got out of the car and went to the beach. They sat down on the rocks, heated by the sun. They were still warm from the evening coolness. How did you get here? The man asked. For a long time? Or just to visit your parents? I've had a job. Nothing keeps me in the city anymore. I got my diploma and came straight here. It's peaceful here, my parents are near, and I don't need anything else. You're still the same. Suddenly David said, turning to her, tender, vulnerable, yum, I missed you. You know, when I saw you now, I suddenly realized that I never stopped loving you. No woman has ever been able to get rid of the thought of you. Mary nervously rubbed the strap of her bag in her hands. Traitorous tears boiled in her eyes. And you? The man continued after a moment's silence. Were you happy these years? Yes, I was, Mary confessed. But my happiness was short-lived. I still wonder why you decided to break up so abruptly. Were you afraid that I would carry out my threat and not allow you to study and work? I was young and stupid then. I just didn't want you to leave. If I could take it all back, it's not about you. Then what is it? I've wanted to go to your parents and ask them about it so many times. Then I wanted to go to you and demand an explanation, but I did neither, respecting your choice. I felt so bad without you. I even started to drink, but I came to my senses. I'm sorry, I should have confessed everything right away. But you wouldn't have believed me. You convinced me to stay. And I couldn't do it. So why did you leave me? I don't understand. Can you tell me now? It was the curse. And Mary told David the whole story in great detail. He listened, looking at her in horror. Now you realize that I couldn't stay with you or you would have died. When one after another of your misfortunes began to happen to you, I was really frightened. I didn't know which of them would end in tragedy. Then I made a very hard decision to send you away. The girl cried. What could I do? I didn't want to spend the rest of my life blaming myself for your death. It was the easiest solution. Parting is not the worst loss.